Okay, let's go. I just got home, well, half an hour ago, but yeah, same thing. Um, played a classical game. The team actually drew, so we ended up in 6th place out of 8, which is solid. Yeah, so we did well, and I wanna show my game because, well, there's something I can learn probably. Note, I can learn. I don't care about anyone else that watches this. I watch my own shit. I don't care who else watches it. So I played a white game. We were missing one player, so I basically could choose either I play white or black and the other board would remain vacant. I chose to play white. And yeah, because I didn't think that it would matter all that much, but in terms of my opponent's skill, but I just play white. So I played e4, and we got into a Petrov defense. That's the word. Knight f6, which I actually recently played. Shockingly, I never do this, but I recently did. And I know a bit about the main line. Goes like this, and then I know that you should develop and quickly castle, because this E file is pretty awful, pretty scary. So I quickly played bishop d3, also putting some pressure here on the knight. And because maybe I can just threaten to take it at some point, not sure how exactly. Yeah, bishop d3. I think this is the normal move. My opponent played bishop e7, which seems normal. I believe bishop d6 is the normal move, but it's both fine, it doesn't really matter. And I castled really quickly, and my opponent played bishop g4, which I think, now in retrospect, I think this is a blunder. that's how weird this position is. I think that bishop g4 isn't good, and because of basically what I did, I played the move c4 here, putting pressure here. You can't take, because then I take here, and I mean it's not necessarily bad that what my opponent bishop g4 isn't necessarily bad actually. And if I take, then you're forced to take right now with the queen, which seems good for me, because then so let's say my opponent castles, which I think is the normal move here. Take, queen takes. My opponent didn't castle, by the way. Oh, actually, tuck tuck, and I win a piece. So you can't actually castle. My opponent just defended, which makes sense as well. I played knight c3, which threatens to win a pawn here. Now my opponent can still... So, if my opponent castles, I win this pawn, of course. Here, I just take twice. You can't actually defend, save that like that, because I take with the bishop on e4. So you basically... I think... I mean, you can either defend this knight or take here. And I think genuinely that the best move you could play in this position is take, castle, and then allow me to do, well, maybe queen takes, but probably not. Yeah, let's say queen takes. Allow me to do this, which seems good for me, because I have I have a bit of a center. Maybe this is actually kind of bad for me. I have some, but I do have some space. Maybe I shouldn't take yet. Maybe just like castle rook e1 or something. I think this is the best thing you can do, and that probably salvages bishop g4 actually. But my opponent didn't actually do that. My opponent decided to defend, and how do you defend? Well, this is just a tempo loss. So f5. f5 is kind of standard in these positions. But I think it's, I mean, let's just take a look at what happens, because I take. I'm threatening a pawn here, and I'm threatening to, well, if they don't take back, I win a pawn regardless. Again, I think you can take here, and that's almost, wait, let's see, maybe you can do this. Maybe this is fine. And then, well, I mean, still rook e1 probably. But my opponent just takes back, and now I genuinely think the game is over because of queen a4 check. And so there are 5 legal moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so let's try to avoid moving the king. Let's see what happens. Knight c6. So knight c6 and knight d7 have pretty much the same issue. So knight d7 and knight c6. I would play knight e5 because of this pin, second attack, and only one defender. Actually, knight d7 has a less bad issue because it's still defended twice. But I'm also threatening f3, which wins a piece. And you can defend. You can take here. You can still take here. That's all fine. And then, I mean, I'm still going to play f3 probably. So let's say defend here. Yeah, that holds. And then f3, and I win this. So at least I win a pawn, and my pieces are great, and you can castle here, but then I'd win a yeah, then I win a second pawn, because you can't block. Oh, and I lose this one. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should take here, and just accept that I'm up a pawn, and my bishop is weird but good. And just play this, maybe bishop a3 or something. Knight d7, well, same issue. Knight e5. And now you can't castle. So you're pretty much stuck, and I'm threatening f3, which is the main issue right now. But I still play f3. Let's say take, that's fine. Now you can defend here, which just barely works. Let's say like this, because otherwise I can, because this might be good for me. I think this is probably good for me. This must be good for me, because like the only way to save the piece is this, and then I take here with the knight. Because if you take back, I take back with mate, and if you, or actually maybe I should take with the bishop, forcing you to take. Also, I don't even have to do that, I can just win a piece. So you have to play this. And that's bishop b5. Is that already a thing previously? Yeah. But whatever. This is all good enough. This wins a piece. Queen d4, same issue. Bishop b5, you're forced to block, and then knight e5, and it's even way worse in this position. Because I win not only this piece, I also win this rook. Actually, it is only an exchange. Ooh. Okay. So you even have to go up again, because otherwise it's a full rook. And then, I mean, it's still a full rook because of this. This, yikes. This position is not good for my opponent. Let's just say the least. Let's say that. So you can't actually block. So you have to move one of these two, and my opponent, I think, accurately just picked this one. I think that makes the most sense. So this is actually the game. And like there are plenty of things to look at, but if this is the best move, then it's kind of an issue. Here I well, the other point of my plan of moving the queen with check was to get out of this pin. So now I can play knight e5, threatening f3 again, and kind of threatening the bishop. And like this knight can't develop, because then my opponent just loses something. Well, this is still playable. But maybe then I even go knight d7. Probably not, but it is a legal move that doesn't lose. I think knight e5 is the correct move here. Bishop went to h5. You can't go anywhere else. And here was this. Yeah, here I played a move, then thought that move might have been inaccurate because there was just a strictly better version, and in retrospect I think I did play the best move. So what I noticed is that, well, especially these two pawns are just really weak and really difficult to defend, and I can attack both with my queen. So one of them is already attacked once and defended once, this one is undefended and unattacked, but I can play both of these moves to attack both of them. And also, like, if I get in, the king is also still weak. I can also play f3, which seems like a good move, but maybe then the knight takes somewhere, or takes on c3 or moves out, and maybe the knight just goes back to f6. Oh, but then I win the f-pawn, so knight probably has to go back to d6, but then it defends both of these pawns, making it kind of a bit more difficult, even though I win this one. Yeah, that was kind of the issue. I decided in the end to play queen b3. Then I thought, hey, maybe queen b5 is just strictly better, but then maybe you can kind of salvage this position. And like, you can't do that, but like, how do you something like this probably. You're down a pawn as black, but play goes on. I think this is what my opponent would have done is, yeah. And I'm not very happy here. Well, I am, because I'm up a pawn, but like, it's not much. And this does the same thing, but knight d6 doesn't come with a tempo. And the point is that after knight d6 I have the option of taking here with my knight, and I didn't in the previous position, because, or after queen b5, because my queen was hanging. So yeah, my opponent didn't even defend properly. So or my opponent, well, tried to defend all the pawns. My opponent decided to play knight d7 here, right? Yeah, knight d7, trying to develop, which also makes sense, but that loses all of the pawns. I had to think here, because there's so many options, like this and that and this, and maybe like stuff. Well, I don't think I want to take the knight, but maybe f3, and then taking somewhere like here or there or there. Yeah, there are just so many options, but also I looked at bishop f4 here, but I thought maybe g5 was good then, which looks insane. But I can't go to g3 because f4 wins a piece, so this bishop f4 is probably not even good. In the end I decided, one thing to note is I don't want a queen trade, because the queens are useful for checkmate, and I think this king is so dead on, well, this diagonal, and like everything is even the e-file is open secretly, so I think this king is so terrible that I just want to keep the queens on the board and deliver checkmates early on. So I decided to play queen takes d5 with the point to take back with my queen here. And now everything should hang. I should win a second pawn here, although maybe maybe you just barely have like this, this, maybe. And I think with the point, but there is some point here, but not here, not in this variation, because there's a bishop in e4. Actually, what I missed in the game, now that I think about it, is that this doesn't work because I take with the knight. That would have this would have lost a piece if I because I can't. I can go here. No, this is still very winning. But yeah, take back on e5. My opponent doesn't even defend this pawn. My opponent plays bishop f6 and I take here. So look at the last 3 moves I played. Queen takes d5, queen takes e5, queen takes f5. I thought that was funny. But my opponent does have bishop g6 here to kick out my queen and save the knight. And game kind of continues here actually, somehow. So there are a couple of moves that I want to make. Places I want to move my queen to. I don't want to. If I could go here I would, but I can't. I can go here, but I don't want to do that, I don't think, because I don't want to trade queens. And this is just a bit too far away from the action, I think. But that's probably, honestly, the second best move. So what so there are 2 things that I used to find the actual move I played. I wanted to maintain the spin on the bishop, because otherwise I might lose the d pawn. Keep pressure on this knight as well, somehow, which actually happens in all 3 of these and not here, so this is why I didn't pick queen b5. So queen e5, e6 is also out because I want to spin. So now f4 and f3, and I realized that f4 is actually a bad move, and that would actually lose a piece. Yeah, so I had to play queen f3. The funny part about queen f4 is you take here, which if I take back this, it's a discovered attack on my bishop. You can generally get out of these by just taking the bishop, but then knight e2 wins a queen. So I have to actually go here, and then I can just take back, or I can take here, and it doesn't matter. I can pick and choose whichever I want, because neither of them loses a queen. Not only the bishop is defended and my queen is not on this square. So after they take, which actually does happen, I can choose to take the bishop instead of the knight. And I think this is the longest I've thought about a move in this game. Whether I should include the move bishop takes g6. Actually, maybe let's look at what if they don't take, because there's you can't take here because then the knight hangs. But you can move the knight somewhere else. You can go to d6. I think then I would take, probably. Or maybe knight d5. I think taking and then knight e5. So they take. And I decided that despite this being a doubled pawn, and it does open up the rook, there's no reason to take on c3 with the queen, so because then I'd lose the d pawn, so that's not really helpful. I think this double pawn isn't terrible, and I wanted to actually keep the bishop if possible, and if not, I would have accepted this. I can't not trade bishops if my opponent wants to, but I don't think I want to trade bishops. My opponent doesn't either, because this diagonal is just killing. Bishop f7. Because if they take and I take back, I get to not d4, c4, and this diagonal and this rook gets here and stuff happens. My bishop gets to a3, which is something I realized only now, that I get bishop a3 and on this diagonal, and it's actually a big threat in this position. So big that after bishop f7 I did play it. Bishop a3 check. I don't think you can run to the center, but maybe you have to. I think this is... oh no, this just loses a queen on the spot. Okay, good enough. You can't run. You can't actually block with the bishop either, which is funny. I saw this all in advance. Bishop c4 threatens mate. The bishop is pinned. The only way to defend is queen e8. That doesn't lose a queen on the spot, and then I just play rook e1. Maybe, probably more accurate. A touch more accurate is this rook. Because otherwise there might be a check somewhere. And the point is that it pins this bishop, and next turn I'm just gonna take. Probably with the bishop. Maybe not. But this is game over. So my opponent, instead of playing that, ran even further. Rook e1, queen c7. Here I didn't play this terribly, but it was a bit, maybe a bit slow. I played rook b1, which is just a threat here. Note you can't take here because of this. Which is probably good enough. My opponent also played the next move relatively quickly and did not consider this, it seems, so they probably saw that that doesn't work. They played rook b8. And here, actually what I did is probably good. I mean, this is not a threat in any position, so I just played bishop e4. My opponent can't take because of bishop d5. Still want to play bishop d5, by the way. My opponent tries to... oh, and it's third attack on the b pawn. So my opponent defends. I play bishop d5. Here my opponent tries to run. And I found a killing blow that my opponent immediately resigned. Actually, there's a funny story. My granddad was actually playing in his same team. He was a substitute. He already won his game, which is great. He's also very tactically adept, and he was standing here over the next to my board, just looking, and at some point I realized, hey, I have this move, and my granddad after the game said, I was waiting until you played that move, so he saw it like 5 minutes earlier, which is insane to think about. I played the move rook e7, and this is just game over. There's absolutely nothing. The point is that this bishop is pinned. Well, kind of. You can't take with the bishop, because this is just checkmate. You do need to play this move, I believe. Because this is mate. Or actually... maybe it isn't checkmate on the spot, because there's a bishop still defending. Let's take a look how to win this. I mean, I could get that for free. Maybe I screwed it up. You also, of course, have this, so you can't block with the pawn. So you have to move up. Yeah, this is the win. Oh, also, I'm blind. Queen g6 mate. That's the win. Promote a bit. So, Queen h7, King f7. No, promote again. Yeah. So this is the win. It's bishop e4 and queen. Yeah, Queen g6 mate. Also, I also just saw that this is also checkmate. Okay, let's promote that one. This is the line. This is why you can't take with the bishop. If you take with the queen, I just take with the bishop. I think that's clear enough. And if you don't do anything, you can try to run, or do, let's say, do this. Then I just take the queen, take a full queen. So this is game over, and I crushed someone with a rating of like 1770 or something like that. And I think the moment, well, there are two things. I think bishop g4 is suboptimal, and there were multiple moments, probably this one and this one, where they could have played knight takes d3 to salvage the position to some extent, and that they didn't do that, and that just ended the game. And I think my opponent played pretty well. It's just apparently just this knight on e4 just isn't great. I mean, that's kind of the point of this opening for white, because otherwise, if the knight on e4 is great, then what are you doing here? If the knight on e4 is great, you just play knight e5 and you play this position down the tempo, right? But yeah, no. Okay, let's look at the engine eval. e4, good move, best move. I'm fairly certain it actually d4 it considers the best move. e4 solid. e5 considers it the best move. Doesn't matter. Knight f3, knight f6. Take d6 is the best move. Knight back to f3. Yep, main line, bishop, bishop, main line. Knight c6, yeah. Bishop g4 is apparently still playable. c4 is good. Oh, it says plus point. Look at this. It says plus 0.5 here, and plus 0.6 after I play by move, meaning that it's okay. Plus 0.5. But before that, plus 0.6. Before that, here, I'm pointing at the screen. I should not do that. I should use the mouse. It says plus 0.4. And here it says plus 0.6. So it's re-evaluating my move as better than what it thought was the best move. Which is cool. I'm beating the engineer. Not by much though. Yeah. c6. I thought you have to do something like that, but maybe not. h3 makes sense. But I wanted to play this, which also seems to be a good move. Yeah, you have to take, or move, and f5 is just a bad move. It's very f5 is a very thematic move. This happens quite a lot in these positions, but generally you're already castled, so it's fine. But here, this is just, yeah, plus 3 makes sense, because you win 2 pawns and crushing attack. Opponent can't castle, and the king is kind of in the middle still. Yeah, you have to just castle and sack 3 pawn? No, 2 pawns only. I think this is only 2 pawns, right? Castle. Ooh, that's also fun. Let's just follow this line for a bit. 95, nice. You have to trade, makes sense. Okay, I guess it's not even a pawn, but like... I guess you can defend. Oh, you can't. Cool. Bishop c4. Cool. Nice. Okay. Yeah, this is absolutely crushing, and you have to play c takes d5, otherwise your position is, well, worse than that. It's just the best move. Oh, now it's okay. Yeah, 2.8, and the move is queen b3. Okay, let's look at why queen a4, what it wants to do here. It does like knight c6, but like knight c6, yeah, knight e5, castle. Ah, you only win a pawn. And you don't even have to take it. So, what was my point after knight c6? The line I went through was this, which makes sense, and then just castle, but f3 here, and okay. Yeah, now you're allowing them to castle. Yeah, that's bad, of course, but this just, yeah, I mean, you're still better for sure. Yeah, queen d7 doesn't work, makes sense, but let's see, knight c6, knight e5, just let's say take castle. Okay, and rook b1. Ah, that's fun. Bishop h7 regardless, nice. g3. I would not play g3 in this position, not in a million years. Bishop f5 I agree with, because you just win that pawn, probably. Oh, and rook... Okay, now I can see why g3 is good to attack this pawn, and you win a pawn. Okay, this is not as clear as I wanted it to be, but it's still definitely winning. King f8 is similarly winning, a touch more maybe. Yeah, knight e5, bishop h5. Queen b3, queen b5 is the same, pretty much. It does prefer f3 first, but the reason I didn't was because I assumed that forces my hand, and I didn't want to. But maybe it's good. f3. I thought you would go here, but maybe you go here and give the f-pawn instead. Yeah, maybe my queen is just good on a4. Queen b3, knight d7, take, yes, makes sense. Extra pawn. Apparently they have to take, well, it's all bad. And they should take, yeah. Bishop e4 immediately makes sense, but this must also be good, right? I do actually want the pawn, that's shocking. Yeah, bishop e4 is probably the faster way than what I did. Okay. Yeah, everything is win. Yeah, okay. Rook e7. The game ends here. Yeah. Good to see that I did in the end spot it. Yeah, I'm proud of this game, went pretty well. I think there is not a single minus, which is kind of the goal as black, or as white, not a single minus. Yeah, pretty decent. Also, almost no moment where the eval drops. This is the only point where the eval drops, but I think that's just opening weirdness. Because I just played the best moves. According to the engine. Oh, this one though. And Queen A4 is apparently suboptimal, you should play Queen B3, but I think this makes a lot of sense. And this does, yeah, the difference here doesn't matter. This one. Yeah. It was just a demolishment. Happens. There's one more match, which is in 10 days-ish. I'm not sure when exactly. You'll see whenever. See you there.